So what is the main hindrance to our magnificence?
One of the main hindrances to our magnificence, apart from grasping at an object in avoidance of who we believe we are, I actually call it the ugly truth, not because it's true per se, but it's because we've told ourselves that it's true. So the ugly truth could be a feeling of worthlessness, or a feeling of I'm all alone, or a feeling of being ugly. Any one of these feelings that we keep as our shameful secret. One of the things about shame is that the shameful secret is often shame itself. The thing that we are ashamed of is often smaller than the amount of energy that we put into keeping the shame covered. We invest a lot of energy in never allowing anyone to see that we actually hold shame. That's where most of the energy goes. And once we're able to face shame and look behind all of that energy that sits there and look at what we're trying to hide behind it, there is a wound. And often that wound is around hiding our light. Children come into the world and we speak the truth. Children ask very clear and very obvious questions. Mummy, why is that man bald? Mummy, why is that woman fat? Mummy, why? Mummy, why? And we get told, shh, don't ask such questions. Or the child runs in with absolute exuberance, full of joie de vivre, and gets told, not now, not now, not now. Or the child is then sent off to some kind of religious training and is told, you're bad. You are inherently bad. There is something wrong with you. You need to follow these rules in order to become good. And so the child then takes on, I'm bad and I need to be better. And so all of that natural light starts to be hidden, and it gets hidden under layers of shame, layers of shame. And all of that can happen without there being an abusive parent. And then we have all those other incidences on top of that. And so the difficulty we have in allowing our magnificence to shine is around being fearful of being a target, of being noticed, of that light being snuffed out. We run a lot of contradictions in our culture. One is, you have to be successful, you have to achieve all this. But woe betide those people who are too successful. Woe betide them. That's what we do in our culture. And so there becomes this measurement of how much is acceptable. How much of your light is acceptable. And really what happens is that when we step into our magnificence, our inner light becomes intolerable for those who do not yet know how to reach it. And how do we reach it? Through facing our own pain. And so this is the big split that we've created between success and magnificence. Success is often in avoidance of the pain, in avoidance of the lie that we've told ourselves about who we are. We still believe in the lie that there's something wrong with us. We still believe in the lie that we are bad. We still believe in the lie that we are unwelcome. We still believe in the lie that we are unclean. We still believe in the lie that we are either too thin or too fat or too ugly or too feminine or too masculine or too something. And that is the motivating motor behind creating all of that success. And then when we have it all, we're empty-handed. We have the fancy cars, we've got all the money, we've got the beach houses, we've got the relationships, we have the perfect body. We have all of these images of what society has told us is good, and yet we end up empty-handed. And that is because we're still believing the lie. And so when we challenge that, and meet the thing that we have spent our entire lives running from, the ugly truth. And as I said, I call it the ugly truth because we've told ourselves it's true. It is not true. So when we meet the lie and the pain associated with that, of that child that we never wanted to be, I never want to be that unwanted child. I never want to be that bullied child. I never want to be that ugly child, that stupid child, that child who is ignored, the child who is treated as worthless. I never want to be him or her. I've cut and separated from that. So when we have the courage to actually face that, and to face all of the pain that is held there, and all of that pain creates all of these distortions, then what replaces success is magnificence. Because it is that thing that we never wanted to become or to be. Behind that wound is all of the life force energy and all of the light that you have ever sought and all of the love that you have ever sought. And that is where the magnificence is. And so all of the abundance and all of the success then becomes meaningful, because then you are not a writer, you are not a musician, you are not a filmmaker, you are not a leadership consultant, you are not a chef, you are not a school teacher, but you are music, you are art, you are food, you are leadership, you are creativity, you are compassion. You embody those qualities. And these are divine qualities. And so what is often missing with huge success is the concept that there is always something bigger and greater and better and more complete to bow to. Call that God, call that your soul, call that your guru, call that something that you aspire to be in terms of internal qualities, call that love. There is always something to bow to, always. And magnificence automatically bows to the magnificence of others. It doesn't compete. And so those who cannot bow to others, those who cannot celebrate the success of others, are an avoidance of their own pain. That is the truth of that. That is the absolute truth of that. And so we've created this world where dog eat dog, dog eats dog. Countries go to war against other countries. Businesses go to war against other businesses because they have to be the top dog. They have to be more successful. They have to outdo the competition. It even happens amongst healers and spiritual teachers. It is astounding to me that that happens because it is an avoidance of the core wound. And that is the wound of shame. It is the wound of shame. And the other thing that gets in the way of that is even facing this belief or this notion that somehow we've been hard done by. Life was bad to me. What is bad to me is carrying the story forward and living from that all the time. What keeps people away from their own magnificence is waiting for an apology that's never going to come, waiting for an acknowledgement that's never going to come. Because you know what? All those people who wounded you are not even aware that they did that. The school teacher, she's not even aware of the words that she spoke 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago. Those who damage others are rarely conscious of A, what they did, or B, that they are lost. They're simply not aware of it. And so holding on, hoping that they will finally see what they did to us is a pointless exercise. It really is. Because somehow we believe that if we become acknowledged, that if the person says sorry, that that will resolve the wound. It may soften it somewhat. But the real issue here is, what have we been telling ourselves? My mother did or didn't do this, therefore that means I cannot because I am. And it's what comes after. It's the big fat lie that comes after the I am statement. My father did this and therefore that means. He left and therefore I wasn't lovable enough. And so him coming back and saying, I'm sorry I left. Sorry I was never your father. Sorry I never hung around. Is not really going to do anything. Because soon enough we'll say, but I still wasn't good enough to make him stay in the first place. And so that's the lie that we must go after. And that cannot be done in the mind. That has to be done where we hold our life force energy. And so being blessed as I am with the gift of sight, I look at the Shushumna, or the vertical power column as it's called in other healing traditions, or the Shushumna that goes through the center of the body, and there are little pellets that look like round, like ball bearings that are through the Shushumna where we hold tightly on to these deep wounds and these beliefs that somehow we're bad, we're ugly, we're not good enough. And so that's part of the work that I do, to assist people in seeing how they themselves are holding on to their own wounding. And so magnificence emerges when we surrender, when we have the courage to face our own wounds. Often those who chase success are in avoidance of their own pain. And so they choose long-term suffering instead of short-term pain. I'm not advocating that we're all writhe around on the floor in agony for years on end. Because often it's very short-lived and we're terrified of it. Because it happened very young. And pain that intense when we were very young seems very life-threatening. And that's why we avoid it. And we will do anything to avoid it. And I'm saying stop. Stop. And meet the wolf that's been chasing you in the woods. When you stop and turn and look at it, it ceases to have all of the energy that it used to have. It ceases to have all of the power that it used to have. And what is there is a frightened child. The frightened child that we ourselves separated from, that we ourselves said was bad and not good, and we never want to be that again. We never want to feel that again. And once we do all that, success is then attracted to us. We don't follow it. It comes to us, because then our magnificence shines and everything is attracted to the light. Everything and everyone.
Illuminating. Thank you.
Indeed, literally
Thank
illuminating.
you.
Yeah.